You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network. Now, the largest new media platform on the web and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is it. We are fresh off the heels of UFC Fight Night 39 from Fox Sports 1, taking place from the beautiful Natal, Brazil. We literally just witnessed an extraordinary event. We're going to talk about the main event. Henderson, Shogun 2. All right, that was a big one. We just saw it. But we're going to get into a few matches. We're going to get right into it, fans. Welcome to UFC AFTERBUZZ right here from Los Angeles, California. My name is Kris, sitting next to Travis Raven Berry.
How are you doing, Kris?
Oh, and then we got across from us, Daria Baronato, MMA star in her own right.
Thank you. You pronounced my name right.
Oh, thank you very much. I got a lot of lessons. I don't want to get that wrong. And of course, our expert, our analyst, the one and only Jay Tant. Welcome, sir.
Good to be here. How are you, Mr.
I'm doing great. I want to get right into it. We're gonna touch primarily on 3 extraordinary matches we saw at UFC Fight Night 39, exclusively on Fox Sports 1. Of course, Leonardo Santos taking on Norman Park, Cesar Mutanch Ferreira, he in an amazing match against CB Dalloway, and of course the main event, Dan Henderson taking on Mauricio Shogun Hua. What a night of action it was. Interesting outcomes that we've seen, but let's go right into it. If I can just pitch it over right now to Mr. Tan, if you would take us through these 3 matches. Let's start with Santos and Park.
Okay, Santos and Park. You're right. I mean, there's a lot to talk about here on the show. When they're done in Brazil, a lot of times, for the most part, it's a showcase for the Brazilians. Yeah. And Santos and Park, you know, at this point, we're in the middle of the show. Most of the undercard, we saw Brazilians more or less sweep, you know, across the board. Things slowed up a little bit in the pace of the show with Santos and Norman. That one went to a majority draw, very rare result that you get. Really interesting match because Santos... pretty much by consensus, Santos won round 1. Norman took over, though, and he really worked his clinch game against Santos, against the cage, and that probably won him rounds 2 and 3. But then also, Norman Parks was, trying to look at my notes here, he was deducted a point by referee Werner Cardoso.
A couple times.
Well, there was that one. There were a couple of matches where we had a lot of point deductions for penalties, including the one that Mario Yamasaki took away. I think 1 point in each round. That was quite something. We'll get to that maybe later. But anyway, Santos and Park. You know, it was somebody. I forgot which referee or judge it was. Awarded the match to I believe Park. But then 2 judges awarded a draw because of that 1 point in the second round. Otherwise, yeah, Park would have won the second round.
How crucial.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it changed the whole thing. And so, you know, you had two guys that scored it where the middle round was even. And they came out with, with 29-29, I believe it was.
It makes me think, in practice, those little mistakes that you can make, like get your hands off the cage. You know, those little things, they cost him the fight. Yeah. Now, is he going to go back and work on little things? Can you work on little things like that? Or is it just one of those?
That's a question for you.
I know.
Oh,
yes, I know.
Fighter.
It is something that...
When you got deducted points, what happened to you after that?
I never have.
That was for her. Sure. Oh. That was for her. She's a good fighter. She's a nice, clean girl.
I'm one of those
that was
fighters,
for her cooking, not her fighting.
Cooking. I'm Italian. I can cook.
Oh, there you go.
Come on.
Forget about it.
No, but it is one of those things in practice that, at least where I trained, it was like, what are you doing? Go run 3 laps. Because little mistakes like that, fundamentals are so important. And you need that good training. You need that system to not lose a fight over holding the cage.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. You don't want to see that.
I think that one part of it as well, it always depends on the referees. You know, some of them will, I don't want to say they're more lenient than others, but it's a subjective thing. The referee is the authority in charge there, and he's the one that decides how far has a penalty or a foul gone too far. The first time you're supposed after first you're supposed to get a first warning. Give the fighter a first warning. Then you deduct if he continues on.
Did we see that? Did we see the warning?
You know, that's a good question.
I don't recall it.
I don't think so.
I don't recall it, no.
I don't want to... Well, I'm going to put this out. This was a Brazilian referee. I don't know how many other matches he's done in the UFC outside of Brazil or not. We saw Mario Yamasaki, like I said, also doing a lot of point deductions on Marbek Taisimov in the 2 matches prior to that.
2 point deductions in one fight.
I don't...
That was another cage grab. It was another...
It was an illegal kick and a holding the cage.
Yeah, the holding the cage was afterwards in the next round in that match. But, you know, I think referees... I'm going to put it out there. Referees are human. They make mistakes.
We were talking about that.
Yeah, we were.
I won't necessarily say that these were mistakes per se, but point is, when you're in a certain arena, you know, perhaps you're not supposed to be affected by the crowd, but referees can perhaps subconsciously be more on point, sharper.
Well, what did you say? What did you say when we were watching that? Let's hope he gets out of there alive.
It was in Brazil.
Right?
Yeah. I think the referees just, you know, were sharper and had probably less tolerance for BS, and, you know, may have been just more trigger happy in calling certain things, you know.
And that's one thing we were talking about, Daria, is it's tough because the referees it's a favorless job. They never do anything
Thankless
right.
job. Yep.
Right.
Thankless job. Thank you. They never do anything right, but they do everything wrong.
Right.
And
You even see it, I'm sorry, in football, in college football, in professional football, in basketball. You see it everywhere. The referees are always getting critiqued.
Yeah.
I mean,
Especially, it's harder like in a fight, MMA UFC fight, because there's only one referee. And there is no instant replay, and you know it's just spur of the moment.
That's true.
Yeah.
You know,
Talk about something that needs to come into the sport.
You think instant replay it has a place in MMA?
By all means, but I think it's eventual.
It needs to.
Yeah.
I think it's going to take a lot. I mean, it's going to have to go through an approval process with each state athletic commission. I'm talking about in North America.
And I think people have to realize, watching it on TV, we're viewing it from about 7 to 8 different cameras, where the ref is just seeing it straight from his eyes, live. I mean, yes, he's closer than any of us.
Best seat in the house
will be, but you know, it's. As we
like
talked
you're
about
saying,
earlier,
the pressure, the people.
The heat of the arena tonight,
Right.
98 degrees,
94
degrees, and then you have the lights
scorcher.
and everything else going on.
86% humidity. I mean,
So,
the fight conditions.
There's so much going on, and you're trying to. I mean, I think we saw it in the past pay-per-view with Herb Dean, one of the best referees in the whole business, and a lot of people got on him about
the late stoppage, Mike Pyle and T.J. Wahlberg.
And there was the early stoppage. It's like,
That's right.
But there's so many humanistic factors that tie into refereeing that might even be subliminal to us. I mean, think about it. Like when we had Ronda Rousey, her last fight, was it because they were females? Would they have stopped it as early if it were 2 males in that cage?
I don't know if it would be, if it was gender so much as what Herb saw. I mean,
right.
It's a fair, it's a fair assessment that I don't know that anyone else has thought of.
I think I've seen. All I'm saying is, I think I've seen worse punishment go down in male fights that is kept going and it wasn't stopped.
Yeah, a lot of referees, you know, if you take a poll of them, some of them will acknowledge that certain matches, which just happen to be higher up on the card because they're tougher guys, their main event, they're stars, you know, and they've got that record. Referees might be a little bit more liberal because they know those fighters.
Right.
They know that those fighters can take on a little bit more punishment than somebody in the prelims that they're not as familiar with.
Right.
So therefore, they're willing to give them a little bit more, let it go a little bit longer. And you know, I'm not speaking to what Herb Dean knows of Sarah McMahon or not, but you know.
Right.
Well, but the best part about the show is that we are going to have referees on in the near future, so I mean, they're going to be able to explain, you know, their past, present, and you know what it's like to be a referee in the UFC.
Oh, kind of keep us in line, too.
Keep you in line.
Oh my goodness.
Danny Davis,
Danny Davis, yeah.
Is this
so
wrestling?
Yeah, this is a wrestling.
How did you know it was wrestling?
Yeah. What are you trying to say? This is a wrestling side?
From what
I know
heard.
we're in the WWE studio today, looking a little bit different from our past studios, but hey, we're trying to
This is an AfterBuzz studio. This is not a WWE studio.
That's where they do all the WWE shows and stuff.
Whatever. We just took Invasion Angle.
Invasion Angle. There we go.
Oops, I didn't say that.
UFC's taking over.
Didn't give away my pro wrestling geek in me. So afterwards, though, the next matchup, CB Dalloway beating Cesar Mutanch Ferreira.
What was your prediction first, Jay, before we get into what happened?
That was, I had Cesar Mutanch winning.
Okay. And
that didn't happen.
know.
That didn't happen.
No. I actually didn't remember. But I'm just saying that because no one could have predicted what we saw in this encounter.
Absolutely
To report the finish, CB Dalloway finished Cesar Mutanch at 39 seconds in the first round, dropped him with a right hook, and then proceeded with ground and pound. That leaves Dalloway 2-0 in Brazil.
What a victory!
Yeah,
huge.
Oh yeah.
That puts him up into the top 15, and people are going to start talking about him as a top 10 guy this year if he continues that. He looked really good. His background is as a wrestler from Arizona State University.
Right.
Him and a couple other wrestling teammates ended up, I think, when he graduated, starting their own MMA team called Power MMA, and including Ryan Bader is one of them. They've had some good success. CB at least, is I think it's
what we talked about with their striking. Is that they have such a foundation, such a growing up on wrestling.
Powerful guys.
Such
You
skilled guys.
You saw that.
But not only that is that now they have time to work on their weakness, which is their striking, and I think that compensates now, and we see that. Because I mean, you're looking at a guy like CB Dalloway, which is a wrestler. With an amazing TKO in the first 39 seconds of the fight. I mean, that's something that tells me, okay, he's been working on his striking and it's working. So he's not just a wrestler.
Jose Benavides, I believe is his name, is the new boxing coach at Power MMA.
Okay.
CB gave him a shout out in the post-fight interview. Yeah. And then afterwards,
I was going to say, what a letdown though for the crowd of that match.
They had a great night. I mean, there's not a lot for them to complain about.
No. But we're talking about how passionate they are in Brazil.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from the fans here in the United States, but it's a different. It's just a different atmosphere. It's like a soccer game. It's just one of those rowdy. Everybody's up. Everyone's the camaraderie. I mean, it's just that I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love the Brazil.
Yeah, they swept and had a great night, the Brazilians, except for those last two matches. Things kind of stumbled there. In the main event, Dan Henderson and Mauricio Shogun Hua in their rematch from, I believe, 3 years ago, excuse me.
Yep.
Dan Henderson finishes Shogun Hua in the third, I believe it was, with a just a brutal right hook.
Oh, right to the nose.
Hammer fists.
Oh.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Right. I want to check my notes here, but I believe it was early in round 2 or 3.
No,
Three.
Round three.
There you
TKO.
go. We're fresh off of the show, folks, and
it just ended.
Still, as you can see, you can probably see the adrenaline is coursing through our veins.
I came in the studio and my hands were like this, and he's like, "Do you want soda in your cup?" And I'm like, "You better put water." I am no longer
Put what?
Well, water.
Water. I said water.
That's a Northeast accent thing.
Well, for
folks.
the people who watch us on YouTube, they'll see the subtitles of what Daria says.
Subtitles. Yeah.
I got a text message after last week's show saying, "Where's Daria's subtitles?"
Well, we'll just get, like we saw in Brazil, a translator in here for East Coast and West Coast.
There we go.
I would just like some of my East Coast fans to shout out tonight on the YouTube link tomorrow and support me. Come on.
We got a shout out here.
Big ups to New York,
You're
New
bilingual,
Jersey, and PA,
though. You're bilingual. You can speak both East and West, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that happened anyway in the third round, and Henderson walks away now in their series 2-0. I don't know that we'll necessarily see a third one.
But I think we have to, watching the fight in the first 2 rounds, Hendo kind of looked tired. Second round, he's like looking at the clock often.
Shogun was winning. I give Shogun those first 2 rounds.
I don't know if that was part of his, I'm not going to say he's out of shape because he's one of the best 47-year-olds around. 43-year-old, excuse me. I was thinking about something. Rich Franklin, was that last week's show or something?
Rich is not 47 either.
not 48, 38, or 39.
39.
But it could have been the heat and humidity in the arena, that was having an effect on Dan.
Had to.
It's like when you fight in Denver,
the altitude.
Yeah.
Who knows? You know, it's one of those things that you'd want to hear from Dan and kind of you'd have to know his camp better. I think
maybe we'll get him to call in.
Maybe so.
Dan didn't Dan say that he wanted to end it first round? He didn't want to go the bouts with this guy.
Yeah.
He said Dan.
Well, it looked like that was going to happen.
Everyone was predicting that it was going to end early, even the two fighters.
But what did we say in the first round? It was over. I mean, you predicted
for Shogun.
For Shogun,
was looking
Shogun
good in the first and second. Yes,
that's what I mean. And
I thought you meant. Okay.
You predicted Henderson.
I predicted
Shogun
to finish it in the third.
To defend Jay, his prediction was more. It made more sense. Mine, I always pick the underdog.
And it got so bad. What did you do mid-fight? You changed your prediction.
Oh, you did not
come
just
on!
cut me out.
Wait a minute.
You did not
but then you took it back. You took it back. You took it back. My point is, this is what kind of fight this was. I mean, it was so bad that Henderson was, I mean, literally against the ropes, against the cage, whatever you want to call it. It was looking like one of those fights that
total domination.
Yeah, total domination. Really quick, I want to plug AfterBuzzTV.com, and I want to let everybody know about all our shows right here at AfterBuzz TV. You can check them out exclusively on AfterBuzz TV and their exclusive YouTube page. All the shows are right there on YouTube, so we want to get everybody to check them all out, and we want to thank all our fans because we were number 8, I believe, and now number 5.
I think the first episode was number 8. Number 5 was second episode.
Unbelievable. So thank you for your support.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
We really appreciate it. We want to thank
Salute.
UFC star Rich Franklin for helping us out last week and coming in here. I know a lot of his fans were watching us as well.
Rich was trying to give us the good cleaning, you know, drinking healthy, eating
worked.
Healthy, but then
worked on me.
Root beer over here.
Yep.
Root beer over here, like drinking root beer
I
in front of
happened
Rich.
to follow Jay Tan on Facebook, and I saw that he was juicing.
My girl's putting me over here. That's right. I am 6 for 6 in juicing. Shout out to Zealand and Rich.
Rich Franklin, you're making AfterBuzz a healthy
That conversation
place.
last week just kind of struck me, and I was thinking about my own nutrition. What are you guys doing over there?
Juicing, I can't believe it.
Look, guys, I drink anything else, so I might as well drink the blending and the juicing as well.
But that's not the juice you get at the fast food restaurant when it comes out. Not that
True.
juice.
No, it's not that. And I'm taking a sip here. This is my water. But no, after that conversation, it just kind of echoed with me. It was resonant about nutrition and needing, especially how easy it is to blend and just throw this stuff in a blender and drink it.
And this is no joke.
Yeah.
You were telling us that you've been inspired and you've been doing this since last week's show.
Yeah.
I went to Costco. I scored up on my veggies and my fruit, and I've been experimenting with blending. I don't know what I'm doing, folks. When I'm in the kitchen, it's mad scientist and not necessarily the one that comes up with good stuff that the world knows about. It's just my little juices and soups and whatever, and I've been juicing my butt off. I think I'm 6 for 6 throughout the week, and still going.
All thanks to Rich Franklin.
Yep.
You
Absolutely.
look at a guy like Rich Franklin that's 39 years old, and he looks. I mean, he's in shape. He looks good.
So it goes to show that it does help. When is that field trip?
I don't know. I know Maria and her husband's been busy with their tour right now, but once they get back,
and it's just too far for the 4 of us to drive by ourselves.
I mean, we're taking Maria and Kevin down to a field trip to Rich's.
They have to lose. I want to go get that pudding again, man.
Well, I'm thinking with Dan Henderson, struggling in the first 2 rounds tonight, maybe he could come on the field trip with us. We'll get a whole bus.
That's what we get. We get the
yellow bus because the exclusive AfterBuzz.
The exclusive yellow AfterBuzz little bus outside that they parked in the alley.
The short yellow bus.
Yeah.
They're saying we're going off topic.
That bus is for the.
I don't want another email, so let's stay on topic.
Well, let's talk about this being the chapter 2 to this Henderson and Shogun series. Again, I don't think we're necessarily going to see a third one, but the first one,
because it was 2-0 now. Would you say?
Because it's 2-0, and I mean that was a pretty decisive finish. There's not a lot to argue. What I thought fascinating, though, here's the thing, folks. The first, if you haven't seen it, the first Henderson and Shogun fight from 2 or 3 years ago, 2011, was fight of the year.
In 2011,
Yeah, in 2011, for many different, media outlets and stuff. It really was an all-time classic. And go back and watch it. I watched it twice yesterday to kind of bone up and remember.
Yeah.
The end result, as you probably figured out, Henderson won. The scores were 48-47. Super close and very compelling match. As I watched it, though, I'm going to be honest about this. I thought it was a little bit more decisive than when I watched it live. Live, I really couldn't tell. I mean, it was torn between who won what rounds. And again, for the casual fans out there, a 48-47 breakdown. These matches are scored in a 10-point must system, and typically one guy will earn 10 points and the other guy earns 9 or less. So what a 48-47 means is one guy got 3 rounds. I'm sorry. Yeah, 3 rounds, and one guy got 4 rounds.
Very close.
3 and 2. Excuse me. My math is bad when it's live internet. But as I watched that one the second time yesterday, it seemed more decisive in who won each round. And the first time that last night, I even scored it 4-1 for Henderson. But Shogun definitely came back and took rounds 3 and 4. I thought, or I'm sorry, 4 and 5. And
the blood told the story.
Yeah, the blood told the story, kind of. But in this one as well, you know, we saw in the first match, we saw Henderson win the first 3 rounds and then gas out a little bit. Shogun definitely took the 5th round. 4th round is debatable, but I gave it to Shogun. This one here, again, we saw Shogun looking really good sharply. It was a bit reversed, you know. Henderson looked like he was gassing out a little bit in the second. Shogun was taking his time in the first. Neither guy really expended too much energy in the first, but Henderson was looking a little bit slower in the second.
Oh, yeah.
And then we pretty much had wrapped it up at that point. Like we were all scoring it for Shogun, right?
Normally I would give a guy that's so experienced like Henderson the excuse that he was waiting back and maybe analyzing.
Benefit of the doubt.
Because he's I was giving him the benefit of the doubt because he's so intelligent and such a great fighter. But I don't think that was the case.
No.
He looked winded. He looked slower than usual, and a guy with such great punch accuracy wasn't too accurate in the first 2 rounds today.
But in that third one, he was. That, I think, was the thing that won it. When landing that right on Shogun, Shogun just dropped, and then Dan was quick enough to follow up with those hammer fists.
Yeah.
And, you know, Shogun wasn't moving. Referee Herb Dean did the right thing.
It almost looked like Henderson looked at Herb Dean and was like, dude, are you going to stop this?
Right.
What are you doing?
He almost read the lips, and he was saying, like, come on, what are you doing? Stop this match.
He was about to throw a last punch, and he hesitated.
Yeah.
And he looked at Herb Dean. Come on, I'm going to hit him, but please stop it. It was, you know.
That, to me, just came out of left field, though. Like we were saying, Henderson, the announcers at one point said, okay, he's a little bit more methodical. But I mean, even when they said that, I mean, I noticed we all kind of looked at each other like, I don't...
Is that methodical?
Yeah, is that are they just kind of covering a little bit? Because he looked a little peakish, a little hesitant more than anything.
It did.
And I think we all felt that. But you know, for that to happen, and then another thing the announcer said, Henderson is better when he's throwing multiple punches, not just one punch. Well, that did not ring true because it was one solid punch right to the nose. And oh, what a shot!
It wasn't the trademark H-bomb,
no H-bomb
overhand right. Yeah, but he did. It was a looping right hook that landed and dropped him.
I think it's one of those things too. Everyone goes in fighting Hendo, and they think the H-bomb could be in effect, and they're only focused on that.
Yeah.
And then something else happens, and they're like, "Wow, you know."
He's well-rounded, is what you're saying. Yeah, he can come from anywhere.
For the credentials that he has, you know, former Pride champion, Grand Prix champion as well, and
43 years old. What's next for him?
Or Showtime. 43?
44. What's next?
You know what? We've seen. Here's a good question.
I mean, people are going to want to see him fight again now. He's a huge victory.
He's he's got a new contract, or at least a fresh contract. I think it's 5-6 fights, I believe, still.
Right.
You know, but again, TRT is what I'm leading to. Nevada just passed a new ban on TRT. A lot of states are expected to follow suit. Dan Henderson has been open about the fact that he is on TRT and has a TUE. His initials, TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, TUE, testosterone usage exemption, I believe, if I remember correctly. But at any rate, Dan Henderson has been, open about his usage. Now that the ban has just passed in Nevada, and corporately for the UFC as well. They're signing on to that same ban. There's a question about how will Dan, how do all these fighters that have been open about their TRT usage and exemption, justified legal exemption use, how will they deal with this new ban?
Especially the older fighters.
Yeah, and that's going to be a factor for Dan. But, as he said in interviews, he's going to figure it out. This happened only a couple of weeks before this match, and it's one of those things where you cross that bridge when you get to it.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but that'll be a factor in his match.
I think the answer is that he's got a career left.
Oh, yeah.
He just signed a new contract, 6 or 7 fights. You have a guy like Rich Franklin. He's on his last one, if I am correct, of his fight, and he's only 38. I mean, so Dan Henderson is a champ. He's a veteran of the sport, and he's hanging in there, and he's not done yet, is what I'm hearing.
I'm getting a lot of tweets of some people are trying to call us. I don't know if we are taking calls, but maybe we'll find out soon.
Fire away if somebody can pick up the phone.
All right.
Are we here?
What were we saying now?
That we have tweets coming in.
Fail.
Cricket.
Epic fail right there, buddy. Yeah, Kris?
Well, again, an extraordinary night, and it was a pleasure watching the event. Last week, of course, it was pay-per-view UFC 171. Tonight, it was the exclusive Fox Sports from Brazil, and we had a lot of other matches as well. We could touch on those if you want, Jay, Daria, Raven, but I'm just still. I don't know. I mean, I know we've kind of dissected these 3 matches here, but again, the main event, I'm still jumpy. I mean, I know when we walked in here, it was but I still can't believe that. I don't know. An impressive win, Dan Henderson, and I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
I didn't see it coming at all.
That's the great thing about MMA. You don't know what's going to happen.
You don't know.
You're a matchmaker yourself, playing matchmaker role right now. Who would you put next against Hendo?
Oh man, I don't know.
Putting you on
it's
the
a good
spot.
question. I got to go take a look. I don't know the top 10 in the UFC. Well,
who would you like to see match up against him? We were talking about matchups. Remember that? How guys good matchups.
Absolutely.
Or Daria or Raven. I mean, who would you want? Who do you think would be a good match?
I'm trying to think here. We've got the top of the division right now. You're talking about John Jones, Glover Teixeira. I mean, I'm blanking after that, putting me on the spot. I feel badly.
Well, you think if Teixeira loses his next fight, maybe a Hendo Teixeira match?
No, I don't think. No, I wouldn't do that as much. But probably guys in the bottom, like 5 to 10 in the rankings. I think that's probably where Dan is.
He's not up there yet.
Dan is I think perennially in the top 5 to 10.
Okay.
And I don't know who. I mean, a lot of this stuff, guys, depends on schedule. Where is everybody? Who's injured? Who's not injured?
Right.
And, I'll say as a matchmaker, I'll say kind of as a benchmark, you're looking at 2, maybe 3 months. Who else is available and ready to fight 2 to 3 months from now? Let's say, for example, Dan just came off of a fight. He won and presumably will be feeling good, injury-free. No reason to delay. He doesn't need to take time off. So what I would think that Joe Silva is going back to the board and looking at is who else in the 205 division, top 10, doesn't have anything else scheduled, and maybe 2 to 3 months out will be ready to fight. Who just fought. And
I think Sonnen may call him out.
Chael? No. I mean, he's trained under him. They're friends. But
Chael's crazy, so
it's not going to happen. No. I believe they've gone on record. Chael might have gone on record and said he wouldn't fight Dan.
Let me ask you this: do we see in the rest of Henderson's career, assuming this is his last set of fights, he's not going to take another contract after this? I'm assuming.
Never know.
Okay, never know. We'll leave it open. But does he have a title bout in this contract?
In the first fight? You don't know. You don't know. I mean, it all depends, honestly. I really think on how he decides to play his cards.
Okay.
How TRT affects his training.
That's true.
I believe, Vitor Belfort, for example, had to pull out of his middleweight championship fight against Chris Weidman, citing that he needed to kind of cycle off or get used to being off TRT. And we're looking at he said a 3-month window, 90 days. No idea what what kind of usage Dan does. Presumably, it's just to keep up his regular testosterone levels. But the body needs to adjust when you're making changes like that, and I'm sure he's gonna find other natural ways of doing it. It's not just testosterone is not the only thing out there. There's other ways of doing it naturally, of maintaining your body as you get in the older years.
Just like we talked about last week with Rich Franklin. Really quick, fans, I want to plug iTunes and plug Twitter at AFTERBUZZ TV. So be sure to check us out there exclusively on iTunes and on Twitter. And I want to throw one more thing out.
I think when they go to iTunes, they can just search AFTERBUZZ.
And they search AFTERBUZZ, yeah. Search AFTERBUZZ on Twitter and iTunes. Really quick, I want to go to one of the preliminary fights. Very interesting. It was Pepe Castro taking on Nod Lahat.
Godofredo Pepe.
The first one.
Yes. And that was what dramatic fashion that match ended in. And that was what a way to start the night of us watching this event.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that set things off for the Brazilians.
Yes. The knee to the jaw. Oh, my goodness.
First round, sometime, I want to say 25 seconds or so.
Yeah.
I could be wrong about that.
It's amazing how we started the show and ended almost in the same fashion.
Yeah.
Very true.
It was a fascinating double jump knee. Oh. I thought it was going to be a jump kick, kind of like Karate Kid style.
Setting up for the kick, right.
But it wasn't. Like when you go back and watch the replay, and everybody check out the replay on this show because it really is worth it, and they will show that sometime in the middle of the show. Godofredo Pepe's double knee to the jaw was fantastic.
Absolutely.
And well worth going and finding.
Against undefeated Lod.
And he just took a nap.
Nod Lahat. I gave it up. What was that?
And he just took a nap. He just sat down. Remember that?
Yeah.
I mean,
And all of us were like, oh my God.
Yeah.
He was sitting. He was down. He was gone.
He was gone. Really quick, fans, I want to plug iTunes one more time. Be sure to go to iTunes, rate and comment. Tell a friend. It only takes a minute. And again, we want to thank all our fans for getting us where we are right now today in the rankings here at AFTERBUZZ TV. Jay, I wanted to ask you, or would you like to talk about the U of MMA?
Not the UFC, the U of MMA.
Yeah, the U. Explain what that means, if you don't mind.
The University of MMA. As they've mentioned, I'm a matchmaker for the University of MMA, which is there's some footage there. An amateur fight promotion. We have residency at Club Nokia in downtown LA, and our next show is...
LA Live.
At LA Live. Our next show is a week from today, Sunday, the 30th. And we see some footage here. That's Ryan Lilly from Boss Rutan's gym getting a second-round finish, I believe, there. We're an amateur promotion that's been running for about 3 years, and I dare say that we are among the, if not the hottest amateur MMA promotion in California.
Awesome.
We were nominated for an award for that last year, the Cali Fight Sports Awards. And we continue to pack the houses. I like to think that we are a stepping stone, kind of a gateway to to aspiring fighters, learning how to act like a pro and train like a pro onto their, when they make that threshold onto the pro career. Some people, you guys may wonder, what the heck is the point? What is amateur MMA? What is the point to it? The point is that a lack of amateur MMA, a lack of an amateur system, means that any aspiring fighter is just jumping into the pros, and hopefully they're training with a good fight team and having the right coaches and being led correctly. But then they run the risk, if they go right into the pros, of getting thrown into a shark tank full of guys that are far more experienced, far more training, and better training than them. With amateur MMA, you set the standards of we're regulated by the California Amateur MMA Organization, which has a mandate from the State Athletic Commission of California. And with amateur MMA, you give these kids a shot to get used to fighting. There is a big difference when you're fighting in front of a huge crowd or versus in the gym and just training. Daria can speak to that.
I can speak on that. Yeah, I was just about to cut in and say, having that confidence and that normality of being in the cage and having those screaming fans and stuff like that is so vital. Because it's like you need to be comfortable in your fight stance. You need to be comfortable in front of people. with your skills. I mean, and you're starting people out with a couple thousand in the crowd, and of course, as you get bigger, the crowds get bigger. But it's such a good platform. I agree. It's awesome to have.
Just like the UFC, people talk about the UFC jitters. You know, guys that are debuting for the UFC, the biggest organization in the world for MMA. By the same token, I'm not going to say there's U of MMA jitters, but there is jitters of being in front of a crowd, stage fright, you know, if you will. And so we're a step in this ladder of kids maturing as fighters. You know, you start sparring in the gym, you get comfortable with that. Then maybe you take a couple of gym shows, you know, and get used to a few people watching and stuff like that. Then you may make your way up to these smaller amateur events, and then then there's the U, and you continue on. And
so I mean, obviously there's a lot of wrestling fans that listen to us. So Daria, a couple years now, Wrestling Talk. Would you say it's almost like the independent circuit?
Yeah.
For MMA?
To an extent, yeah. Look, there's your nationwide big leagues like the UFC and others, and then regionally throughout the entire nation, you've got smaller promotions, pro and amateur. Most of them pro, though, that will draw in those crowds of several thousand. That I would consider the indie circuit. Anything below a national level that is touring, you're talking
like
about
backyard wrestling.
Not quite as bad as backyard wrestling. No, I'm gonna stop it there.
We're not backyard indie pro.
Indie MMA to me is anything that's not nationally touring and going to different cities and stuff like that. And it can be pro or amateur, but yeah, it is that thing about what we're referring to more is the atmosphere of fighters, the friends and family of fighters coming to watch their guy and support their guy, and
a lot of UFC stars go there. I was at the last show in February, and Josh Barnett is cornering 2 people in fights.
Mayhem Miller had a protege
Mayhem Miller
there.
Was there. Jessamine Duke was there.
Yep, we had 3 of the 4 horsewomen, 2 or 3 of them, I believe. Marina Schaefer, of course, fought on our card. Big proponents of women's MMA, and we line up about 12 to 15 matches. Our limit is 15, and I'm always going for the gusto because I like to provide bang for the buck for you guys. And, I got to say, it's really fun. Just like the buzz of The Ultimate Fighter, when...
the afterbuzz of The Ultimate
After the buzz of The Ultimate Fighter. No, those first few seasons, and even now, you see these kids that are young and hungry. They know it's their shot, and they're going for it. And you see some of the most compelling matches during The Ultimate Fighter season. And by the same token... these amateur fighters that are fighting for the U of MMA and other places, they really want it. And the more that you give them a platform that they feel like it's the big time for them, the more that they take themselves seriously. And I think that's it's an important thing, because if nobody else takes these fighters seriously, they're not necessarily going to. I mean, unless they've got that confidence and push, that's great. That's a thing that's going to make them a fighter and later on, hopefully, a champion. But to give them that feedback and support, they look around at the arena and see the fans and the lights and stuff like that, and they go, "Shit, this is a real show. I got to step up my A game." So that's why we create and present our shows. As such.
Did you just say a bad word?
No.
At least it wasn't a sponsored word, It's amazing how important and how different it is when you fight in a gym, and you can fight that same person. It could be the same match, but in front of people, it's a lot different. When I would broadcast pro wrestling and basketball, we would do take after take, and I'd have script after script in the studio. And then bang it out, no problem. And then we do shows at the LA Sports Arena or the Grand Olympic Auditorium. And we're talking thousands of people. And it was like, all I had to do was say a sentence or two. And it was just, we're in the studio. I had a script, boom, 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 and I was fine, But and I was just announcing. I'm just giving an example. And I wanted to ask you, Daria.
It's all mental. If someone were to ask me, what is mixed martial arts? I would say it's 80% to 90% mental, and the rest is physical athleticism.
Yeah.
Because you see guys go in there, girls go in there, like Ronda Rousey. I was talking to you about this last week. Ronda Rousey goes in the cage with such a demeanor, and it's not cocky, it's confident. And she goes in there to kill.
Yeah.
And I don't care what any female fighter says, everybody is intimidated by Ronda Rousey's demeanor. And of course her skills are absolutely amazing. I'm not trying to you know, push that away.
Absolutely.
But it's her demeanor. It's intimidating.
And the thing is, though, Ronda's she's an anomaly in a lot of ways to fighters.
Yeah.
A lot of lesser fighters, and there's many of them, don't have that same kind of confidence
and, it's a weakness for
focus.
Them. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's all the more reason for these guys to fight and to, you know, get used to it, you know?
Couldn't agree more.
It's always good to have baby steps to the big show.
Well, speaking of confident, I am confident in Maria Menounos' new show.
I saw
this thing's awesome.
Let's talk about it.
It's the new show Chasing Maria Menounos, aptly titled, and that's Wednesday nights, every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. on the Oxygen TV network. You were talking
about it
earlier.
Guys, it's Tuesday nights. Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. 9 Central on the Oxygen channel.
Oh, they changed it. Tuesday nights.
No wonder my DVR isn't getting it.
Hey, okay. But we need to thank...
Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Oxygen.
A few people we need to thank real quick for helping us out in the past couple weeks. Tommy Toholt. Don't know who this guy is, but he does like a cartoon about the MMA, mostly UFC world.
Tommy is funny.
He is very funny.
Yeah.
He plugged our interview that we got with Ronda Rousey, so that was really great. And I need to really, really thank Josh Rafferty for hooking up the Rich Franklin connection. Follow Josh at Josh Rafferty on Twitter.
Thank you, Josh.
All right.
Daria, what do we got coming up?
Next week.
Next week. Wow.
April 20th, guys.
April 20th? We're not back till April 20th?
420.
Please do not miss us. Please do not use the pot references. This is UFC.
He just said 420, the month and the day. What do you mean? What's pot?
I said April 20th. I was trying to avoid that at all costs.
That far.
Anyway, April 20th, we will be back covering Miesha Tate versus Liz Carmouche and Werdum versus Brown. I am so excited for this. You guys have no idea.
You don't say.
All right. I'm a little sexist when it comes to the fights, guys. I cannot wait.
That's gonna be a barn burner.
I can't wait till April.
Can't wait.
I can't wait for April 20th. I'm gonna let everybody get a plug in. I'm gonna go first.
Go ahead.
Catch me do color commentary for the IBA, the D League for the NBA, the Los Angeles Lightning basketball. Go to lalightning.net for more information on that. We're gonna be starting up soon in Thousand Oaks and in Venice Beach.
Just follow me on Twitter at Raven1220.
All right, you can find me at my website, dariaray.com. You can follow all my news and good stuff there.
University of MMA, March 30th, a week from today as you're watching this here. At Club Nokia, tickets are available at the box office or uofmma.com.
Thank you, UFC, for a great night in Brazil.
Absolutely.
This is UFC AfterBuzz. Thank you very much. We'll see you April 20th.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later!
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.